Well, good morning everybody and welcome back to the beautiful Havergate Island. The birds are all up and cooling, the sun is out. It is absolutely gorgeous. And what a difference a day does make. I was planning to make a video yesterday, but in the afternoon we had this huge storm blowing. I was preparing to get out and build a camera trap, but it was just well too wet. I don't want to have all kind of water in the camera trap before I kind of set it up and leave it. So instead I Gore-Texed up and laid out in the rain for 5 hours, and it was absolutely amazing. I had some great encounters with the hares, really close. Dropping my shutter speed down to a 60th of a second, getting some motion in the rain, some nice streaks and droplets. But yeah, some really good encounters. And then after the rainstorm blew through, we had this wonderful light for a little while. I got some really nice shots of the hares, cleaning themselves, washing down after being absolutely soaked. And then just as the sun was setting, I got my final shot for the evening. That was a hare perched up on top of one of the banks with this like red sky behind it. That was really, really nice indeed. So this morning then what I'm doing is I'm kitted up with a long lens, got the 300 out this morning and the 1.4 teleconverter ready to go, just to give you as much reach as I've got. The idea is basically I've got the flash extender on the top. I'm going to get into a position where the sun is hopefully behind my subject and then fill it in with a little bit of flash just to make something a little bit different, something I haven't managed to do before with the hares close to home. The wide angle is also on the ground next to me, just so I've got that option in case a moment pops up. But right, I'm going to go find a subject and see if we can start what is a glorious morning off with a few shots. Right, so I just had a nice little moment with the hares out in front of me. I moved back down towards the cabin because I saw a few hares pop out, walked a long way round so I could get behind them. One out in front of me on the grass was really nice. Got a couple of backlit shots with the sun behind. It's a shame, I wish I could be a tiny bit lower on the tripod, but with the flash and everything on top, it's just not practical to do that. And then two more hares jumped over the top and just ran around in front of me. I turned the flash off for those, underexposed completely, and kind of silhouetted them against the sky. Again, just looking for something different, mixing up the shots I'm creating. One of the hares has gone down behind me, and two went straight ahead of me. I'm going to keep moving towards the light and try and still work with some backlight stuff until it gets a little bit too high. But considering it's only just 6 o'clock, it's not too bad start to the day. So I've just been making my way slowly towards the couple of hares that are in front of me. Thank God for my knee pads, because the amount of kind of sharp gorse that I've crawled through. I felt it on my chest, but not my knees, luckily. That's really quite nice, and that's good because it's where I put most of the pressure down. There's two hares out in front of me now, and one is having a nice little scratch. It's really nice. I'll just get a clip of that. But in terms of its angle for photography, it's not the best right now. They're a little bit too close to the background. That means the separation isn't that great. But what I might do in a second is take the lens off the tripod and move to the right hand side, get a little bit lower and shoot through this gap in the gorse, and hopefully find some sort of frame there. But it's just so lovely to be this close. The two hares that are out in front of me, I'm going to call one Nice Nose and the other one Notch, because I've seen them on multiple days now, and yeah, I mean, one's got a very nice nose and the other one's got a notch out of his right hand ear. that's really cool. He's just gone back to the bush at the back and he's just kind of feeding and milling about. It's just so cool to see them this close. I mean, one thing that I do like about using the 300 is I can work this close. You know, if I had a 500mm, in order to get kind of like the whole animal in, I'd have to be a good like 10, 15 foot behind me, and that would probably mean that I'd have a lot more distractions in the way. Oh, they're starting to move a little bit. And that'd be harder to find those clean shots, those nice simple portraits, or just, you know, picking them out between all the vegetation. So that's one of the reasons I really do love my 300mm for photographing wildlife. It just gives me a bit of flexibility to work close, but also still get that lovely separation. Right, are you going to stay there? Starting to move around the other way. So I think I'm going to have to get back the other side of this bush. Right, well it's coming up to 8 o'clock now and the light's starting to get a bit harsh. I think what I'm going to do is call it as a morning of photography now and head back, grab some breakfast, and then also kit up a camera trap that I'm going to go and put out this morning and this afternoon. I'm hoping to find a really nice kind of like gorsy patch with some nice intertwining sticks and stuff that's going to make a real nice image, and then I can spend some time kind of fine-tuning the lighting and getting that right. Going to leave the camera traps here for a couple of months, come back and check them when I come for my next visit, and fingers crossed we'll get some really cool pictures from those. I think using a camera trap is a really great way to kind of supplement the images that I'm making. You know, it's great being behind the camera, I absolutely love it, you know, having that connection with your subject. But for certain pictures, when you want to light them in a certain way or create a certain aesthetic to them, well, the camera trap can really do that. So I'm hoping that it gives me a good chance to make something a little bit different from my time working on Havergate Island. But you know what? When it's 8 o'clock in the morning, you've seen 6, 7 hares, spent time with 3 or 4 of them, made a couple of 100 pictures in some gorgeous light, and now you're going to go grab a coffee on this wonderful little island nature reserve. Days don't start much better than that.
Getting back to the cabin, it was time to get on with the daily duties, and after sticking on the coffee, I popped out the solar panels in the gorgeous sunshine that we were having on the day. Whilst on Havergate, I've been testing out the Jackery solar panels and the power pack system, and they've been super useful to help me keep my cameras and laptop charged, to keep things running for the daily backups and other work that I have to keep up with. Jackery sent these over to me a while ago, and I just haven't really had the chance to test them out in a perfect scenario, but whilst I've been on Havergate, it's been a really good opportunity to use them in the sort of situations that I really envisaged these would work well. The solar panels can charge the battery from about half to full in just over a couple of hours of full sunshine, something that's rather awesome considering with normal use I can power everything I need for 3 to 4 days off the full pack. I certainly can see that the battery pack's going to live in my car, allow me to charge things on the go for the future, and it's going to be great for drones, cameras and anything that just requires a lot of power when I'm on extended shoots. Now, with everything charged up, I had a bite to eat and then pulled out all the camera trap system I've been needing for the afternoon. I'm going to be leaving a camera trap on the island whilst I'm away, and with hopes that we'll get some different and interesting pictures that I might not be able to make with the camera in my hand. So after dropping the cameras off, having some lunch, I'm out again. But early this afternoon, what I'm going to be doing is setting up a camera trap. Now, for a lot of you who watch the channel, you know that it's something I absolutely love, using camera traps. I think it gives you a real interesting way to develop some different shots for your wildlife photography. You might be thinking to yourself, but Tom, if you can get so close to the hares that you've been using like a 70-200 and a wide angle lens already with yourself behind the camera, why would you bother with all the hassle of the camera trap? Well, really, it's all about creating a very specific shot. I'm going to be looking for a little pathway that goes through some gorse where I can nestle the camera box in nicely, have it super close to my subjects, but then also put additional lighting in. Yes, I can move one flash gun around when I'm on my own, crawling on my front, but to have like 3-point lighting where I can, you know, make sure that the whole scene is lit exactly how I want it, is something that's just really hard to do when you're behind the camera. So the camera trap allows for that and just makes for a kind of more natural scene to be captured. Again, it's all about just adding something a little bit different into the portfolio of the work on brown hares that I'm doing, and ideally just making that shot that is going to be a real kind of like double page spread sort of thing that people are going to be really interested to see, and just giving you a unique angle on hares that maybe and hopefully people might not have seen before. That's the whole idea that I'm going for when I tend to be using camera traps. So I'm going to hop over, get into the gorse and see if I can find a spot that's going to be ideal for the sort of image that I'm after. Right, so this is a perfect indication of hares in the area. You can see the form here where the hare has scraped out a little portion to sit itself in. This will be to kind of hide itself, hunker down in the middle of the day, get out of any bad weather or anything like that. You can actually see all the fur around the edges that's caught on the gorse from the hares that have been sat here. So you can see this is super well used. But this isn't the sort of location I want to put a camera trap on. Yes, I definitely probably get a picture here if I set it up, but I'm actually going to just disturb stuff, you know. The hares come here to kind of hide out and everything like that. And for the shots that I'm after, I want more of an action image than just one sat hunkered down. I can get that by slowly crawling up to one myself. Instead, what I want are the paths that move between these areas, and that's where I'm going to want my camera to get that kind of action shot of them moving through the undergrowth. But this is very nice to see. I'll probably explore around and have a look at the paths and see if anything's going to work for the camera trap near here. Right, so stage one's complete. I've decided that the second location I found, the kind of little tunnel bit through the gorse, is going to be the composition I've decided on. Checked it out with my camera. I'm using a Nikon D7100 with a 12-24. So note on cameras really for camera trapping, I always pick them up secondhand. I've got this one from Wex, got the lens from Wex on their used section. I paid like £230 for the camera and about the same for the lens really. The reason I'm using the super wide, just gives you so much more scope to get it in close and get like that more dramatic landscape that's quite nice. But you know, a lot of the time I also do use standard kit lenses like the 18-55mm. They work really well. You know, you're dropping down to f11, f8, f11, so no problem there at all. For this camera trap, because it's going to be day and night photography, I'm going to be using the D7100 just because it allows me to set a minimum shutter speed so that when the light drops later, I can have it on aperture priority for the daytime, but then when the light drops at night, it means that I'll still get a number of frames rather than just one long exposure frame by using the settings in that, and that's something that my D3000 series cameras can't do, so that's why I'll be using this. For the triggers, I've got my trusty Trail Masters. This is the pair of camera triggers that I've had the absolute longest. These were my first ever camera trap triggers and they are superb. They've been lasting. Sadly, they don't make these anymore. I do have a set of Scouts that will be for my other camera trap that I probably won't show you building because, I mean, I'm building this one for you guys. But yeah, I'll use those too. And then other than that, load of cable ties, essentials, flash guns here, 3 SP28s,
in their housings. Now these housings are made of, they're just little tubes that I found on Amazon. Cut the tops off them, they screw together, and then put some plexiglass in there. Just gives me a really nice waterproof seal for my cameras, for the flashes, and just means that when I'm leaving them out in the field for a long time, you know, it just keeps them protected. I've got little 1/4 threads on the bottom, so I can attach them to mounts and stuff like that. So there's 3 of those, there's 2 here and 1 in the top section as well. Gaff tape, always need that. A couple of mounting straps, a few little these kind of like tree screws. I'll probably use them on dead wood and stuff like that, but I can also use them in conjunction with a couple of my kind of rod mounts that I have on the side. Got a load of those, and then I've got a little ground mount and thing, just to give me a variety of options. Probably won't use everything because I'm going to keep some stuff for my other camera trap that I will put in tomorrow. Of course, I've got my cables. Now, the reason I'm using cables for my camera trap and not wireless like a lot of people use is simply that it's going to be here for a couple of months. If I was using wireless, I'd have to come over, change the batteries more regularly. But with wired cameras, I can basically leave them out in the field for sometimes like 2 months and not require any extra batteries. The SB28s last forever if they're set up right and I don't need to use too much power, and they should be fine. Of course, I've got my camera cable as well, so that's all there and ready to go. And other than that, there's not very much I need. I'm just going to start, get the camera into position first, get the box all set up for that so I know my composition's right, and then I will move on to get my trigger point, and then once I know where my trigger point is and that's all in position, I'll then arrange my lighting so that I'm lighting the point where my subject's going to come through, and that will be the process of getting this camera set up. So let's jump to it. Right, so I've gone ahead and got my composition in boxes where I want it. I've actually dug my mount into the ground, so it's going to give me a really solid fix because I'll be leaving this for a little while. What I've done is I put 1 flash off to this side just because I know where that's going to go, and I wanted to test how strong the mounting of this gorse bush was, and that's worked really well. Can't see it in the frame, but the next thing I'm doing now is planning where my trail masters and where my trigger's going to go. The thing I've done is actually I've drawn a line. So I've used one of my straps and I've just pulled it across in a line of where I want my triggers to be. The reason I'm doing it like this is so that I can see exactly where it is. Means I can work out where my lighting's going to be, but it also means that when I look through the camera I can compositionally work out that if I put my the end of my trail master over there in that corner, when the hare is in the position that I want it, is it going to completely hide it or is it going to be in the way? And that's something I'm working out. One of the great things about trail masters is the end unit is quite small and it's green, so it hides quite nicely. The only problem is, of course, any plastic square like this is going to reflect the light, so I just need to make sure that it's basically behind a little gap so that when the hare is stood, hopefully where the trigger's going to be, I'm actually not going to see it and it's going to be hidden by the animal itself. That should be ideal. But looking at this, when I check my composition, just open this up, look to the back, it's kind of so far away under the bush, and at 12mm on this, it's going to be, you know, tiny in the frame anyway, and then hid by my subject, so that should be just about perfect. So I'm going to go and get that in now. The also great thing about doing it like this is it means that my second, my main transceiver here can be right next to my subject, right next to my camera, easy to connect it. I can keep the wires nice and small. That means less likely that rodents or anything like that are going to come and get it. I can tie everything out of the way and keep it nice and concise. And then of course, any changes I make, I can quickly see how they're working. That's very good. So I'm going to get those into position and hopefully get that mounted up. And to be honest, this is one of the hardest bit of camera trapping, is just getting this aligned and making sure that it's going off exactly where you want it to. The lighting, other than that, is really just building around to make that scene all come out. So let's get this in position. I've been tinkering around for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes now. I had to use a makeshift hammer that I've made out of a Manfrotto super clamp and an arm. Really good because you absolutely bang it in. Been banging in my mount stakes. I've moved the trail master from this side to that side simply because it's allowed me to move my back trigger to the right hand side, bringing my trigger line slightly to the right. That means it's more in line perfectly with the stick that's coming through my composition. So hopefully as the hares come through that, it's going to be the right place to set everything off. And also now, because there's a piece of gorse in front of it, the kind of middle bit. It's completely hiding the trigger. You can't see it at all. That's absolutely ideal. I love it when camera traps come out like that, because it just means you know that every single shot there's not going to be anything in it, and it's going to look really, really natural. Got this one flash placed off to the right hand side. That'll probably be my primary fill, hoping that the hares come through the frame left to right. So I'll get that flash started first. Probably going to be about 1 30-second power, because we're really close. When I'm doing like smaller mammal traps and stuff like that, my flashes are often really quite near. One of the good things about that is it makes the source bigger. That means you get more of a flattering light. But it also means I can dial down the power really low, even to like 1/64. That's basically going to mean that the flashes last so much longer. That's really going to extend the life of my camera trap. That's really what we're after for this sort of thing, especially when I'm not going to be able to get back to it for a couple of months. But I'm going to just run some tests, make sure everything's working with the Trailmaster, and then once that's sorted, I will get my lights in position, and then we'll really be there. Everything is finally looking good. It's taken me about, I don't know, an hour or so to sort out all the lights. Primary, secondary, final fill, building out the scene. I like a heavy top light on the top, just gives that more natural feel to the images. Front light to make sure that as my subject moves through the frame, the foreground is lit and the front is lit, so you get that really nice punchy animal coming through. And then this light is just to kind of make a bit of separation between my subject and its background, and just give a little bit of fill on the side. Just kind of balance the image out. I've been testing everything using my pair of binoculars to make sure everything is pin sharp and perfectly lit where I want it to. The last things I've got to do, put my waterproof stuff on, make sure everything's going, put my hand through the Trailmaster and make sure that's going off, and then seal everything up. I'll probably come back tomorrow morning and just check everything's working and there wasn't like hundreds of false triggers, and just do a little bit teething whilst I'm setting up my other camera trap as well. But right now I'm going to close everything down, get it all proof for the evening, go grab my cameras and get out for a final night of photography. I'm probably going to leave it here, talking to camera and everything like that. I'll probably lob in some B-roll of me taking pictures tonight. But hopefully you've enjoyed that little video, shooting some pictures this morning and then getting out to build a camera trap. It's been fantastic working on Havergate over the last week. Really had some great opportunities to produce some pictures of hares, and I cannot wait to get back here for another week soon, check my camera traps, and also to get started on producing even more images for this project. If you do have any questions about camera traps, photographing hares, wildlife photography in general, do drop it in the comments. I'll be more than happy to get back to you. And until the next one, guys, get out there, enjoy your wildlife photography, and go make some cracking images. Right, I'm going to go grab my cameras and find myself some hares.
My final evening on Havergate turned out to be a fantastic one, with some incredible close encounters with the hares. It gave me the opportunity to work around them and get some different images, and when the light came good right at the last minute, I even managed to get a shot that I've been after for many years. A rimlet hare with completely black background, something that I've been looking to create for an absolute age, and I was so stoked to get it on my final day. I think when it comes to wildlife photography, one of the most important things is to always just spend as much time as you can with your subject. Don't leave till the bitter end and just work until all of the light is gone. You never know what you might be able to create. I really can't wait to get back to Havergate and shoot some more images in the future. It's a fantastic location and somewhere that I was truly privileged to be able to experience and spend time alone by myself on. Brown hares have been one of my favourite subjects for as long as I can remember, and I can't wait to spend hundreds and hundreds more hours photographing these beautiful creatures right here in the UK.